Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, of course, we'll be doing our Indiana Pacers off-season recap. If it's your first time here, we'll be breaking down everything that they've done this off-season, recapping the moves, the departures, and everything in between. Before we start today's video, I would like to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. For a team that just lost in the NBA Finals, and they made it to Game 7 with their star player blowing out his Achilles in that, Tyrese Haliburton being more than likely out for the entirety of the year as they were granted a disabled player exception. Now, we'll be discussing all those moves. Let me hear your thoughts down below. Did they do enough to keep their contention title open once Tyrese Haliburton returns? And is this team worthy of making the playoffs without him? So let's get right into today's video and discuss that. Yes, they brought back the two guys who popped their Achilles at the beginning of the year, felt like a week or two apart, and that was Isaiah Jackson, who was re-signed to a 3-year deal, while James Wiseman was re-signed to a 2-year deal, but it's really a 1+1, with the second year being an option. Isaiah Jackson is someone who is a bouncy, shot-blocking, rim-running center. James Wiseman is more of a shot-blocking lob threat, bigger center, kind of similar play styles in terms of what they bring, rim running, shot blocking. However, very different body types. Like James Wiseman's a bit wider while Isaiah Jackson's a bit springier. So I think because they have now 4 centers, the center by committee approach specifically that they brought in Jay Huff, they kept Tony Bradley picking up his option. I think that's pretty decent instead of trying to trade for somebody that would have cost them maybe a key role player. But the fact that they were able to get Jay Huff, who could be a poor man's Myles Turner in terms of giving you similar production and, pick and popping 3-and-D rim protection, I think that's cool. And they were right not to pay Myles Turner. Myles Turner was not worth the contract that he got. Yeah, it sucks that the Indiana Pacers were never able to basically give a counteroffer. They literally got ghosted. Myles Turner changed his phone number within 5 minutes and dipped on them. Now, obviously, I think that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but I think it's definitely something to understand. And then I actually asked Kevin Jr., why they took Taelon Peter, right? Taelon Peter. And he said he was an analytical darling. And for what they needed shooting wise, they felt like he was the right swing that they needed. Now, outside of that, I do think it's going to be incredibly interesting to see if Enrique Freeman is brought back, because they did actually pull his qualifying offer. And if you look at the current roster, they have 3 two-ways and Quinn Jackson, who's a lock to stay on there. Same thing with Taelon Peter. They converted Johnny Furphy, who was on a 2-way last year, and Ray J. Dennis, who had moments in Summer League. I really thought Mr. Enrique Freeman was going to be the guy that filled out that back end of the roster, and they still have one roster spot in there that, Enrique Freeman, a guy who's more of an undersized 5 than a switch big, could fit in, but I just think the undersized 6'7" frame of his is what they're worried about. But Andrew Nembhard is going to probably be the starter. Bennedict Mathurin is extension eligible this October, but they're probably trying to figure out if it's because the whole thing with Bennedict Mathurin is that this could turn into a Jonathan Kuminga situation where he's a really good scorer. He's an insane at getting to the free throw line. And he doesn't provide much passing or defense, and even though he has the ability to be an okay defender because of his frame. So they might want to re-sign him now where his value is a bit lower instead of letting him ball out and paying him after he balls out on a team that doesn't have their primary player. Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the league, top 10, at least top 12 player in the league. Then you have Isaiah Jackson, Tony Bradley, and Jay Huff making out the center by committee. Jarris Walker and James Wiseman, my apology. Jarris Walker might get some switch big minutes. Same thing with Pascal Siakam, small ball minutes. Just Jarris Walker, they need to figure out where he's at in their development and if he can be someone that, is a part of the team moving forward. Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, and TJ McConnell will make out the second unit. Johnny Furphy, someone that they really hope to take a jump And Cam Jones is a guy who's more of a natural 2, but he can play the 1 as he did this past year after Tyler Kolek left. So I do like that addition right there. And as we mentioned, they have James Wiseman, Tyrese Haliburton being out for the season. Tyrese Haliburton is $45.55 million that is just injured, just sitting there. They did get almost $15 million in a disabled player exception to use. Obi Toppin and Andrew Nembhard, outside of Pascal Siakam, who's also making $45.55, are the 2 next highest players in third and fourth place. Aaron Nesmith making 11, TJ McConnell making $10.20 million, and $9.19 million for Bennedict Mathurin right now as their top salaries. This is a team that has no dead money at $181.83 million in terms of their payroll. They are about $16 million below the tax line, which gives them about $13.6 million below the first apron and almost $25.5 million below the second apron. So they have no concern about the tax. They aren't in a situation like the Boston Celtics or other teams that, started to have to do salary cap gymnastics to be able to keep the flexibility that they have. As a result, they still have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, $14.1 million at their disposal. They did not use it. They can use that in a trade mid-season. They also have the biannual exception that they did not use of $5.1 million. They applied and were granted a disabled player exception, which is either 50% of an NBA player's salary or the full mid-level exception, which is, less in value. And that ended up being the full mid-level exception. And they are able to use that if they wanted to bring in a player that they might be doing at some point. So what are we taking away from all of this? What have we learned? So yes, the center by committee approach, I'm personally fine with it. I don't think it's a big deal. I think we saw the Golden State Warriors do it. Obviously they had an insane roster, but I think here you got 2 guys coming off an Achilles injury, Tony Bradley, former first-round pick, Jay Huff, a guy who's on a multi-year contract, but having 4 dudes that you could theoretically break up 48 minutes by doing 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes. I saw Scott Brooks have Russell Westbrook play Daniel Gafford to start the games, then it was Alex Lynn to start the games, I believe, or maybe Daniel Gafford, or Robin Lopez. I think it was Robin Lopez and Alex Lynn. And then they have Daniel Gafford at the third quarter, and they were literally playing each guy 16 minutes a game and just running pick and roll nonstop. So I think that's just going to be center by committee approach between Jackson, Huff, Wiseman, assuming that Jackson and Wiseman are going to be healthy for training camp, and Bradley until one of them emerges as the clear starter. I'm leaning towards either Bradley or Huff. And obviously Tyrese Haliburton's loss reshapes the offense. Andrew Nembhard takes the primary playmaking and creation. Siakam is going to have to be the superstar star player and be the guy who is the number 1 option. TJ McConnell is either going to be a starter or their 6-man who's going to have to be able to be a scoring pop and a stabilizer of the bench unit and able to run the offense and orchestrate it and facilitate for others whenever Andrew Nembhard sits or Pascal Siakam also sits at the same time. Their wings and players are all going to have to take steps forward or continue their development from Bennedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, obviously Aaron Nesmith and Obi Toppin, Johnny Furphy. They need guys who are going to be able to compete on both ends of the floor and provide scoring punches to make up for the lack of Tyrese Haliburton not being there. So the fact that they have all the flexibility in the world due to being below the tax and the aprons with a disabled player exception in hand gives Indiana mid-season options to upgrade if they need to. But yeah, that was everything I had right here, in my opinion, what I thought was done. So if you made it to the end of the video, guys, I really do thank you guys for sticking around. And yeah, that was basically the Indiana Pacers 2025 offseason recap. If you guys made it to the end, I really greatly appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. It'll mean a ton. Ciao.